Thank my brother, the Honorable Nsimbambi, for his presentation. I just want to address myself to the law. I appreciate, and please, if I've misunderstood, let me know. But you did say that this bill has nothing to do with the status of citizens. Did I get you correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, you never address yourself to Article 21 of the Constitution. And I may read it.
The Honorable Nsimbambi stated, I do associate myself with the bill in its entirety.
And in every aspect shall enjoy equal protection of the law. Given that the bill is defining some citizens as foreigners, and therefore it has limited some of their fundamental enjoyment of their rights. I'll give you an example. I am Yusuf Nsimbambi, living in the United Kingdom, and I have a job there. I'm a citizen from Maokota, and I am building a house worth 500 million shillings. And I have invested so far 400. If I must invest another 100 to build my own house out of my own income, I need permission of the what? Of the Minister of Internal Affairs. Am I having equal protection of the law as a citizen under Article 21? Number two, does the Constitution of Uganda envisage a situation where there will be disagreement on the government policy? Does it? Or it says there should be unanimity. Once it is government policy, everybody must agree with it. And if you disagree, it is criminal on your part. Is that envisaged by this Constitution? Because I thought I want to talk law, I don't want to go to other things. Look at Article 1, the one we are talking about sovereignty of the people. All power belongs to the people, who shall exercise their sovereignty in accordance with the Constitution. The people shall express, that is Article 1(4). The people shall express their will and consent on who shall govern them, and how, and emphasis, and how they shall be governed through regular, free and fair election of their representative or what. Assuming there is anything wrong with the way the people are being governed, do they have a right to say no to dissent? Or once it has been determined they have no right? And when does dissent on the way you are governed become criminal? It's about clause 8. Honorable Nsimbambi, look at clause 8. And many of, including the lawyers who are here, did address themselves to it. But now that we have, the Honorable Nsimbambi is a very senior lawyer. He has taught many lawyers, but not me. Except. Clause 8. It says implementation of government policy. And clause 8(1) says a government policy approved by cabinet shall be implemented by the relevant government ministry, department or agency. Meaning, if it's a fisheries policy, it has been approved, it has to be approved by cabinet. Education policy, a water policy, environmental policy. But now look at clause 8, subclause 8. It says, the minister in accordance with the cabinet may, by regulation, prescribe the procedure for implementing the policy of government. And the minister has been defined as the Minister for Internal Affairs. What has the Minister of Internal Affairs got to do with the fish policy? Or environmental policy? Because clause 8 brings in all government policy. And it goes ahead to say relevant government departments. But now its implementation, you go to Minister of Internal Affairs. I don't know whether this is law or common sense. Because one, if it's, for example, environment, protection, there's a minister in charge. If it is education, there should be a minister in charge who should come up with the government policy regulations to implement a particular government. Why particularly Minister of Internal Affairs? Then I think I agree with the Honorable Nsimbambi when he's talking about sentences. I agree with you entirely. Why? And this is also again. Sentencing has got to do with proportionality of the crime committed. There is no way you'll have a sentence of $1 million. I mean, it's like you just want to hang people. Every sentence should be proportional to the offense of which is being alleged. So I agree with you that the issue of proportionality on the sentences within the bill is actually out of reach, out of the ambit of the Constitution. Lastly, I have been here the last couple of days, and I want you to help on this. We listen to the bankers. I have read the memo of the insurance companies. The universities have also submitted in the application they're already here. Yeah. I read something very small. And they raise what I would think are legitimate concerns. Don't you think it is high time to address those concerns because they have ramifications, serious ramifications? As of for example, many of these universities, they don't have money. All their funding comes from outside Uganda. Research, they don't have money. When you talk about the bankers, they have told you they do syndicated loaning, getting money, and you've been a banker yourself. You know this. They get money from outside. If you do what we call over-regulations, don't you affect these particular industries? So, Chairman, I want to close. You see, the biggest mistake we can make, we as lawmakers, is not to be sure of what we are enacting. It is actually stupid on our part. Because what happens, then we get a very vague law and we throw it at the courts. Then you'll have all sorts of wide interpretations. All of us should be agreed that this is what we want. All. Such that if this particular law now, no longer a bill but an act of parliament, comes to a court of law, it is very easy for them to interpret. But if the lawmakers themselves, everybody has his own interpretation on what he's legislating, then we would be in trouble. That's when we have very absurd decisions from courts. No wonder, one time I was part of a committee. We enacted the legislation and the judge said the intention of the legislature should not have been this, but what was dismissing actually was our intention. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. For me, I would rather be
said I'm the one who drafted this law together with the Attorney General and State House. I think that's not true. Otherwise, I would not have limited my submission, even disputing some of the clauses when I'm the architect. But I thank the honorable members for the input and the questions which have been presented before this committee. Honorable Chair, I don't want to emphasize this. I'm a stakeholder because I represent the people of Mawokota. I'm also a teacher of law who did not fail this particular subject of legislative drafting. I also practiced law for almost 20 years or so. So as a Ugandan, I have a duty and a responsibility to have an input. Just look at me in that perspective. The rest of the misgivings, I acknowledge them in good faith. Honorable Du, I'll start with him. He raised questions which some of them are beyond my capacity to explain. But technically I can say the European Union Parliament is a very big house, very important in the development, and actually most of our development partners are members, so they are also concerned about what is going on. But the point I wanted to, the example I gave, it had to do with an electoral process. Which electoral process maybe was not free and fair. To me, from Mawokota, I had no problems. It was a free and a fair election. I lost. I was number 3 as an incumbent, but there was no rigging, there was no vote violation or irregularities. In my own former party, we didn't have a tally center to tell what happened in the election. There's not even an electoral report. I don't want to talk about other parties. But I was a shadow minister in opposition. We have never been summoned to talk about elections and have a report. Then you have an individual, just giving an example, talking about irregularities which form the opinion of the resolutions. And you have an electoral commission which is supposed to be handling the process. You also have a channel to go to court and challenge the results. So you don't do that. But now the effect of the resolutions may have ramifications to this country. Now what happens? Because if you are lying before court, it's not treason. There's no extraterritorial jurisdiction. And whatever you say was outside the country. So for those purposes, or for that purpose, the law deems you as a foreigner for you to be brought under this act. And that's why I said the interpretation saying this act, comma, unless the context otherwise suggests. If you just had a talk, academic or otherwise, that's different. But when you have resolutions summoning the country, if you summon an ambassador, you're summoning the country to explain, and it has issues, where do you go? So exactly that's the point. But then the other issue